Dear participant, very good evening, one and all. I think we are going to have one of the renowned person. I think I was attended a session 4-5 years back at Chennai. I was amazed, mesmerized by her speech, and whatever the points Madam was presented during that seminars, it is valid, and then it is a slap your face, because the truth only from her, Madam. And that day I enjoyed a lot, and then I got a prize from that one of the organizers. Still, I remember the way in which I presented. And unfortunately, I'm not able to invite you for face-to-face interactions. Definitely, we'll have a few more sessions with you and after this lockdown period. And thank you for accepting our invitation to give a speech on that topic: prevention of child sexual abuse, role of mental health professionals, parents, and teachers. It is an amazing thing. It is a need of the hour also. On behalf of the Department of Psychology and core team of this Mental Health Webinar Series 2020, I welcome you, ma'am. Please take over the session and share your knowledge and experience with us. Before that, I request Dr. Chandra to introduce the resource person to the participant over here. Dr. Chandra. Dr. Chandra.
Mute.
Yes. Dr. Chandra.
Yes, I am here.
Yes, you can.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, everyone. I'm indeed pleasured and humbled to introduce the resource person of today, Madam Ashwini, who is the founder-director of Muktha Foundation. What we see from her profile is she's very committed and she's very inspiring. She has been a faculty member in the postgraduate department of psychological counseling. She is a counseling psychologist by practice, and her research intervention has been in the area of prevention of interpersonal violence. She has been recognized as one of the 100's leader under 30 globally for her idea titled Focus Formula to Foster Mental Health in Low and Middle Income Countries. She has also been appreciated by the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, for her collaboration with Young Indians of Confederation of Indian Industries for the project Masoom. It's a very nationwide initiative. She has also directed a campaign titled Child Safety National Priority, and she has been traveling nationwide for 90 days for this great motive. So we appreciate you, ma'am, for this, and we are very much humbled to have you here today, and we are very much open to hear your thoughts and experiences for a great learning. Thank you very much, and I welcome you on behalf of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chandra. So before I begin, everyone, I would like to first of all congratulate Dr. Suresh for such a consistent effort to know that this is the 66th the session on topics pertaining to psychology, and this is amazing. Thank you so much for also choosing this particular topic and having me join all of you here, sir. I'd also like to thank Dr. Veena and Dr. Shubhashri for connecting me to this particular initiative. So what we will do is maybe the first 30 to 35 minutes, I'm going to share my thoughts on prevention of child sexual abuse, and what role parents, teachers, and mental health professionals can play in order to prevent child sexual abuse. And after that, let's open the floor for the discussion. Yeah, hope it's all right. So now, as Dr. Suresh was earlier pointing out, I think 5 years back he attended a 2-day session. Imagine on this topic, it was a 2 full-day session. Yes. So, but today what we are having is a 1-hour session. So I can imagine, the extent to which I may have to curtail, the topic. But let me introduce you to certain primary ideas using which you can begin to work with children so that even when we have 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour is solid, and let's see what best we could learn. So let's get started then. So I'm going to begin sharing the screen. Would that be okay? So can I share the screen? Oh, okay. Okay, so let me just see. All right. So can you all see the screen? Just give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay, fine. So that's great. So we are looking at prevention of child sexual abuse from the perspective of parents, teachers, and mental health professionals. So look at the first slide. So here, what I want all of us to begin to conceptualize is when we talk about prevention, prevention itself can happen at 3 levels. Are you all with me? So prevention can happen at 3 levels: primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention. So now what I'll do is I'm going to first speak about tertiary level, and then we'll move to secondary and primary, because that's easier, to understand. So look at the tertiary level of prevention. See, what happens at tertiary level of prevention means child sexual abuse has already happened, and we are going to prevent it from further happening. Are you all listening to me? So you see, tertiary level of prevention means child sexual abuse has unfortunately already happened, but we are going to stop and prevent it from further happening. See, I distinctly remember, I think this must have been in 2018. There was this one case from Chennai, where this auditorily impaired girl, all of 11 years old, many of you might remember this case, 11-year-old child who couldn't hear. She was brutally raped for close to 6 to 7 months. By whom? All the people who were working in the apartment where the girl was staying. So they were saying close to 17, men who were working in the apartment, plumber, somebody who was operating the lift. You see that? Now, why am I bringing this particular example at tertiary level? Because you see what happened in this case. Abuse happened. But for about 6 to 7 months, even after abuse was happening, nobody even realized it. That means we did not even prevent it at tertiary level. Is there something more unfortunate than that? So you see, tertiary level means abuses happen. We're going to prevent it from further happening. Yeah, we've failed at the first instance of preventing. Now let's go to secondary level of prevention. Secondary level of prevention means there are going to be some children who are going to be a little bit more vulnerable to being abused than the rest. Any child can be abused, that's what the research says, but then there are children who are more vulnerable than the rest. Say, for example, it could be a child with intellectual disability. It could be a child with a certain condition, such as not being able to talk or hear. Or sometimes imagine a parent who is so neglectful, maybe economically they're all fine, but a parent who's so neglectful that the abuser takes advantage of it. So therefore, there are some children who are more vulnerable than the rest. Imagine parents who are alcoholic. What's happening to the child? They don't even, bother. So therefore, there are children who are more vulnerable than the rest. They have still not been abused, but the vulnerability is high. The chances are high. Now, when we work with such children, we call it secondary level of prevention. Are you all with me? Yeah. Now let's move on to the primary level of prevention. Primary level of prevention means nobody is a victim yet. Nobody has become a perpetrator. Nobody is vulnerable, but we are going to work with anybody and everybody. We are going to work with anybody and everybody, not just children, parents, counselors, army professionals. I distinctly remember when we did that national campaign through Muktha Foundation last year, January 1st to April 1st, when I traveled non-stop to all the 29 states, then now 28 states, 29 states, we ensured that we just don't speak to children. Sometimes children are empowered on the topic, but parents are not empowered. Teachers are not empowered. So therefore, when we talk to everybody, the whole of community, say for example, today what we are doing, because of the work of psychology department of the American College is a classic example of primary prevention. The more all of you are empowered, you would carry that message, So therefore, we need primary level of prevention. Here, we are going to prevent it even before abuse happens for the first time. So therefore, I want you to think about it. If you are committed to prevention of child sexual abuse, we better be working at all these 3 levels, not just tertiary, secondary, and primary level of prevention as well. Are you all okay? I'm going to quickly move on to the next topic, given, such less time that we have. See now, have you ever wondered, in a school, there are thousands of children, but how is it that 1 or 2 children are getting targeted? Think about it. There are so many children, isn't it? But here are abusers who are targeting few children, So that means they are using a method to target children. This is a deeper science. I'm sure forensic psychologists would be in a better position to dialogue on this, but I just want you to get oriented to few concepts which I think will be helpful to you. Now look at this. Child sexual abusers can be categorized in many ways. Once when I sat and read through it, 16 different ways we could categorize the abusers. They're all child sexual abusers, but look at the various typologies of it. But today I'll just talk to you about two broad categories. The first category of child sexual abusers, we can roughly call them as, opportunistic abusers. Are you listening to me? Opportunistic abusers. The second category of child sexual abusers, we can say they are preferential abusers. On one hand, I'm talking about opportunistic abuser, and the second, I'm talking about preferential abuser. Look at what's the difference. An opportunistic child sexual abuser is somebody who will get an opportunity to abuse a child, will abuse a child. May or may not abuse another kid. So imagine was traveling in a train. There was this child all alone, never thought of abusing any child, but because an opportunity came, he or she abused. But these are people who will get easily caught. But then there are the second category of the abusers, who are called preferential abusers. Who are these preferential abusers? Preferential abusers are those who create opportunities for themselves. Are you all listening to me? Preferential abusers are those who are going to trick a child, who are going to trap a child, who are going to abuse a child, and also ensure secrecy. I distinctly remember, this is like many years ago, I think must have been like 20 years ago. There was this one case, I'm sure some of you might remember, which became very popular as the Noida case. Noida case. Behind this man's house, they found God knows how many skulls of little children. Now you see, here is a person who is not an opportunistic abuser. Here is somebody who sexually assaulted children and then killed them and never got caught for years together. So therefore, I want you to please know that there are categories of abusers. And the second category of abusers, who are they? Preferential abusers take children through a process which is usually called grooming. Are you all listening to me? Grooming. Generally, grooming means what? Grooming means, preparation, isn't it? We usually say going to a beauty parlor and getting groomed, getting ready, But in the context of child sexual abuse, grooming means, I want everybody to listen. Grooming means the process by which an abuser will trick the child, establish trust with the child, abuse the child, and then maintain secrecy. This is usually done by preferential abuser. I want you to read up more on this. But now what I'll do is I'm going to talk to you about stages of grooming quickly. Let's keep it quick. I'm going to explain this using an example so that we don't lose time. Now, this particular model of stages of grooming is proposed by Michael Wellner. He's a American forensic psychiatrist. Look at this. He says, abusers are not simply going to abuse. Imagine we are dealing with such criminals and we think sometimes that teaching a child good touch and bad touch is going to prevent abuse. Imagine groomers, preferential abusers with such criminal intent and behavior. We need better strategies than simply teaching children good touch and bad touch. Of course, our intent is good, but we need to go beyond this particular model. Look at this. In the first stage, usually a preferential abuser will target the victim. They know who is an easy victim. If at all this is a child I'm going to victimize, are these parents going to be listening to a child? Are these parents daily going to interact with a child and believe the child? So they're going to first target the victim. Now, when I say target the victim, they might even observe the family and then target the victim, not just the child. In the second stage, they may gain the trust of a child. I'll take up a hypothetical scenario. Imagine here is a girl who is 14-year-old, maybe an 8th standard girl. Father is an alcoholic, comes home daily, beats the kid and the mother, such as the environment. Now the abuser watched, okay, here is a target who is coming from a home where there is domestic violence, will gain the trust of the victim. How? Maybe by building rapport, maybe by being actually kind to the kid. And then in the third stage, the abuser is going to fill a need. What is the need here? An emotional need. Here is a child getting beaten up by a father every day, and here is somebody who is willing to listen. I've read research studies where they say abusers are excellent listeners. They know how to build rapport with the victim, that the victim believes here is the best person. Look at that. Filling the need. The need could be emotional in nature. Sometimes the need can also be financial in nature. Sometimes where poverty is there, you see, sometimes it's really the matter of food, shelter, and clothing. So here are abusers who are filling the need. And then what they do in the fourth stage, they isolate the child. They isolate the person from the primary support givers. Are you all listening to me? Here, let's take up the example. Maybe here is a child, 14-year-old example, right? 8th standard girl, had a maths exam. As such, maths didn't enter, let's say she couldn't learn it properly. And that day, dad came home drunk and hit her badly. The abuser, knowing this scenario, uses that as an opportunity to isolate the child further. Will tell, look, you have an exam, he knows that you can't study maths well, and that day he comes home drunk. What type of a father he is? If you're with me, I'm not going to be like that. You see what the abuser did? Use the most vulnerable point and emotionally separated the child. Now we all know a child who is emotionally separated, it's easy later to then physically separate the child. It's so hurting and so painful. Sometimes in newspapers we see reports such as this child, look at the word. Sometimes newspapers say the child eloped with someone. We've heard instances like this, no? The child ran away with someone. For all you know, the child was groomed by somebody and the abuser made the child do that. So because the isolation happened. And then after the isolation happened, they're sexualizing the relationship. Maybe saying that I'm going to support you emotionally. What begins with, a simple holding of hands to emotionally hugging the child and saying, don't cry, your parents are not going to miss you because your father is a drunkard. And then they're going to sexualize the relationship, where the child does not even recognize where did the emotional support end and when did it become sexual abuse. Are you able to see how they're blurring the boundaries? What begins as emotional support is now getting sexualized. And then maybe now that the child is isolated emotionally and physically, they start to hurt this kid. We know instances where a child has been sold through human trafficking, for sometimes for prostitution, slavery, you see, and then they start to maintain control. So therefore, what I'm trying to say here is, there is no good that comes when we tell a child good touch and bad touch. After bad touch, come and report. Isn't that what we are saying, children? Isn't that the model of good touch and bad touch? If there is a bad touch, come and report. Tell me, if there is bad touch, a child coming and telling, is that called prevention? Prevention is preventing it from happening the very first time, isn't it? Here what we are saying is, if there is a bad touch, come and tell. Of course, this is important. But telling a child, if there is a bad touch, come and tell, we were not able to prevent it. Instead, we are going to intervene right now. So therefore, what I request all of you is, we need to figure out ways that we talk to children about grooming. Of course, not scaring them, because now I know that when adults listen to these stages of grooming, sometimes we look around and everybody is like a potential abuser. I don't want anybody to get scared. I know that there are 207 of you who are listening. That's what I see on the screen. I don't want parents, teachers, counselors to get scared. No, instead, we need to figure out a way to talk to children wherein a child must feel confident. And I'm going to tell you, how do we talk to them? I'm going to tell you, how do we talk to them? Are you all okay with this? I'm going to quickly move on. Now, stages of grooming. I know you could read a lot more than what I've just talked to you. I'm introducing ideas to you. Now, Imagine 100 kids are sexually abused. Lakhs of children are getting abused on a day-to-day basis, you know. So unfortunate. If coronavirus is what do you say, coronavirus is a pandemic, child sexual abuse is a pandemic that has forever existed. And what have we done is something that we really need to start thinking. Now, if 100 kids are getting sexually abused, can you please tell me how many children are likely to open up and talk to a mother, talk to a teacher and say, you know, mommy, somebody is abusing me? How many? Can somebody unmute and tell me? Will all 100 on 100 kids go tell their mothers, teachers, dads that I'm getting abused? Guys, do they? Many of you are nodding, no, no, no. Yeah?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, this is Madhvi, and I can say no, because when the child is going and sharing with the parent, child will have a negative feeling towards the parent will have negative feeling towards the child.
Yes, yes. So, so what you're telling is 100 on 100 kids won't say. 50%.
Ma'am, there are children, ma'am, who share. It all depends on the interpersonal relationship, ma'am, with the parent.
Absolutely. So the general impression that I'm getting from all of you is you believe. Yeah. Now unmute yourself, everybody. Mute yourself. Mute yourself. All right. So now, 100 kids are abused. Rough estimate is maybe 5 to 20% of kids are going to talk about it. Are you all listening? And I don't even know in which country 20%. Sometimes when I've asked people this question in India, everybody would say 2 kids would talk about it. So now imagine 100 kids are abused and 2 kids are talking about it. Now, how can we support the other 98% of the kids who are not even talking about it? No? POXO law is fine, but the POXO law comes into the picture only when we know that the child is abused. If the child is not talking about it, then how do we know? So therefore, what I'll do next is I'm going to talk to you about what are the possible warning signs. Are you all listening to me? Let's talk about the possible warning signs. These are not the warning signs. These are all possible warning signs. We should never jump into a conclusion. Instead, talk to a child and figure out. Ask a child, this is what I'm observing. Is there something you wish to tell me? Yeah, that should be the manner in which we talk to a child. Listen to this scenario. You know, this is an adult sharing about her childhood experience. A 22-year-old talking about her childhood experience. You listen, you get the intention of why I'm sharing it, but let's not discuss it, you know, outside. Listen to this. Here is a 22-year-old who's recollecting her experience. She says when she was 8-year-old, she was getting abused, you know, and she never told her parents. Instead, you know what the parents got to observe? This girl was eating soap. So imagine, like idli, this girl is eating soap. Why is she eating soap? Because for her, it's like her external body, she's cleaning it. But then she's feeling so dirty from within that here is a kid who's eating soap. Is it so common that to find children eating soap? Of course not. But then she also recollects when her parents saw that she's eating soap because she felt internally dirty. Yeah. Her parents came with a stick and they asked, hey, don't we give you food? In Kannada, it's like, Muta akalva. You know, I'm sure you can imagine, you know, don't we give you food? Why are you eating soap? She's 22 and she recollects. She says, if on that day had my parents asked me simply, why are you eating soap? I would have said that I'm eating soap because I'm getting abused, you know, oral sexual abuse, you know, brutally, you know, by a cousin of hers. But she's unable to voice it out. But she says, if my parents had asked me, why are you eating soap? I would have told them. But did parents ask her? Instead came with a stick, hit her, bruised her. And you know how colloquially parents sometimes say, no, if you eat soap once again, I'll throw you out of the house. You see that? So, and the girl says, it seems she promised that day that she will never eat the soap. And she also tells, I promised within my own self that I will never tell my parents that I'm getting abused. And the abuse stopped years later, you know, years later. So you see, A child did not talk, but that does not mean the child was not trying to communicate. The child did communicate by eating soap. But because parents did not know this was a warning sign, you see what just happened? So therefore, warning signs are an absolute must. We have 25 warning signs that we have listed at Muktha Foundation. But today I'm just going to give you 5 or 6 and then move on to the topic to just give you an idea. Look at the first warning sign. Yeah, as I've already said, a feeling that the body is dirty. So excessive washing of body, spending hours together in the washroom. Everybody is like, come out, but the child is like, let me clean, 2 hours not coming outside the bathroom. There is something that we should be careful about, isn't it? Not jump to conclusion, but say, imagine if I'm the kid, somebody must ask, I'm a 8-year-old, let's say, somebody should ask, Ashwini, I'm seeing that you're spending a lot of time in bathroom. Is there something you want to tell me? And I'm going to listen to you. Just this sort of therapeutic way of talking sometimes may make a child want to open up and reveal. That's the first warning sign. And I'm editing it quite immensely. I'm editing it. Now, the second warning sign could be a child was very comfortable talking, suddenly chooses not to talk at all. This is what sometimes we call selective mutism. A very talkative child, now mummy is asking what happened in the school. No talking. Why? The child is feeling, what if I open my mouth to tell my mother about the homework and then I blurt it out? What if I just tell it because there is so much of emotions that's spent up? So therefore, a child may decide, let me not open my mouth. Why? Because maybe there is a blackmail from the abuser, no? Maybe there are threats to the life of a child. Maybe there are threats of various kinds to a child. Instances where teachers have been abusers. A child being told that I'm going to fail you in the internal assessment. You see, these are instances that are widely documented. So a child suddenly stopping to talk. We better take it seriously. And then, thirdly, so imagine, Veena ma'am, I'm going to request you to become my mom in this role play, okay? You just be there. I'm going to look at you and talk. So imagine I'm a child. I'm a child. To 6:30, mommy, not at 7:30, 6:30 you should be back home. You see, why am I telling mommy, please be back at 6:30? For all you know, there is somebody within the home. If you don't come at 6:30, they're going to abuse me. But I'm not telling mom there is an abuser. Instead, I'm asking her, come at 6:30, not at 7:30, come at 6:30. Earlier, I was okay with my mom going out, but now I'm really begging her, pleading her, please be back. Now tell me, how many mothers, how many fathers will calmly ask a child, why are you asking me to come at 6:30? Sometimes, how do parents talk? You're 10-year-old. Can't you just be at home for 1 hour? Another time you ask me to come at 6:30, I'm going to hit you. And this is a culture where hitting is almost like the right of a parent. Seems like that, even though it's a punishable offense, corporal punishment. So what I'm saying is, you see how we neglect warning signs, yeah, which we cannot be doing. So child can get enmeshed. Enmeshed means clingy. Mommy, don't go anywhere. Or the child can get withdrawn, not wanting to speak to anybody. Why? Because the abuser first built trust and then began to abuse. Now for the child, it's like, let me not talk to anybody. Let me not interact with anybody. Let me just be myself. That can also be happening. The next one, unexplained bruises on the body. What could be examples of bruises on the body? Scratch marks, pinch mark, bite mark, cigarette burnt, the burnt marks. But something I want you to please think about is, you see, sometimes what may happen is parents, when they see a scratch mark, might think some children are fighting. Negligence. Pinch mark. I've heard instances where parents have believed pinch mark they thought was the mosquito bite. How is it that the mosquito isn't biting anybody in the house, only on the body of the child? You see, a warning sign in front of our eyes, but we are not considering it with importance. So therefore, all unexplained bruises on the body of the child, we really need to be careful about. Now I think, the screen just got froze. I'm going to retry. Now this is one, but the other warning signs are also as follows. Look at this. Few other. Now sometimes we may find a child becoming extremely possessive about one bag. Imagine earlier, mummy used to take out that lunch box from the bag of the child. Now the child is like, mommy, don't go and touch the bag. I'm going to take out and give it to you. Why is the child doing that? For all you know, there is a gift that the abuser has given, and the child has kept this particular gift in a bag. No child is going to come and show a counselor or a teacher that I have a gift given by abuser, isn't it? Instead, wherever the child has kept it, the child may act being very, very possessive about it. Think about it. The next one is regressing to younger behavior. See, now I'm not telling all this so that you can become paranoid about the child's behavior. No. Instead, if at all we see these warning signs, we need to therapeutically interact with the child, not become investigator. Hey, tell me what's happening, not in that tone. Children are not going to talk about it. Build rapport and then talk. We all know what is regression. Progress is going forward. Regression is as if coming backward. Now, regressive behavior, an example could be bedwetting. So imagine bedwetting usually stops at the age of 7 to 8, isn't it? But imagine a 14-year-old boy suddenly beginning to bedwet once again. Can we please be careful? A boy who had stopped bedwetting at the age of 5, and suddenly at the age of 13 or 14 is once again bedwetting. Now, bedwetting is more common among boys who are sexually abused than girls. Can we please be careful? It's a regressive behavior. That could be a warning sign. And then there could also be unaccountable fear about certain places and people. A child was earlier comfortable going to a relative's house, is now saying, I won't come to that relative's house. For all you know, there is an abuser there. Or sometimes it can also be unaccountable fear about people. So imagine the abuser is wearing glass. Now the child is afraid of everybody who's wearing glass. The child interacts with others, whereas everyone, can you hear me? Okay, something happened on my slides, that's why. All right, I don't know what the problem is, but I'm not able to see the video. But let me know if you're not able to see. Okay, I'm not able to see the video. All right, so now just listen to me. There's some problem on my screen, I don't know. Yeah, so a child who's abused by somebody using a particular perfume. Now, when the child comes across somebody else using the same perfume, can also be afraid of such a person. So therefore, we really need to be careful about all these instances. And then we have outbursts of anger. What does outbursts of anger mean? Outbursts of anger mean, a child who's abused is angry about the abuser. But can a child do anything about it? The child can't do anything to the abuser. So instead, the child can displace the anger on somebody else. Yeah, the child can displace the anger on somebody else. Who could these people be? This could be a parent, this could be a sibling, it could be a peer group, or sometimes we've heard of instances where the child has shown the anger that the child has on the abuser onto a pet, killing pets or throwing a doll. All these are quite possible. All these are quite possible. So therefore, we really need to be very careful about warning sign. And whenever we see a warning sign, let's speak to a child, learn what's happening to the child so that we don't wrongly misinterpret. But then whenever we see a warning sign, we cannot I'm sure as you're listening to me, you're able to think of many, many warning signs. Yeah, I want you to continue to think. And when you see it, you please engage in a dialogue with the child. See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the screen, but I'm going to continue to talk because there was some problem there. Are you all okay if I just continue to talk without the screen? Because I just couldn't see you all. And I think seeing you all is any day more encouraging to continue. Okay, look at this. Great. So we've talked about n number of topics. Now I want you to think about how to communicate all that we know, to children. I know many of you sitting here as parents, as teachers, you might be worried. This worry, sometimes, what would happen when we are talking to children, it comes out as giving them stern instruction. You can't be speaking to strangers, okay? And now the child is afraid, So we cannot be scaring children. Instead, how do we talk to children in a friendlier manner, but also in a comprehensive manner? Now, I'm going to introduce to you a model. This model, it's something that's copyrighted, but you please go ahead and use it anywhere and everywhere, but then just see how we would like to, but do it in a manner that I'm just going to talk to you, because it's pretty comprehensive. Now, as you've rightly, I'm sure you're thinking, we need to talk to children about grooming, but how do we talk to them about grooming? And we should also talk to children about different types of child sexual abuse. What do I mean by different types of child sexual abuse? Tell me. We are talking about good touch and bad touch. Bad touch. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you questions. You need to tell me whether there is bad touch there. If an abuser is showing pornography to a child, is there bad touch there? Tell me. Here is an abuser showing pornography to a child. Is there bad touch? There is no bad touch there. The abuser is not touching the kid. Now, somebody is sending sexually explicit content on the phone to a child. Is the abuser touching the kid? No. Imagine a child is bathing or the child is changing clothes. An abuser is looking through the window. Is there bad touch there? No. Somebody calls a child over the phone and is talking in an extremely sexually explicit, exploitative manner. Is there bad touch there? No. But are all these child sexual abuse? Absolutely. Are you all okay? All these are psychologically child sexual abuse. Legally, also it's considered child sexual abuse. But what are we doing? We are indirectly communicating to the children that only when there is bad touch, it is child sexual abuse. Is that the case? So many times an abuser would make the child watch porn, which in itself is child sexual abuse, and later begins to touch the child and abuse. But it's already too late. The child is also feeling guilty for having watched something. So therefore, I want you to please recognize there are so many forms of child sexual abuse, and we are simply talking about one form of abuse which involves touch. Our intent is correct, but then sometimes what will happen? A child is getting groomed in a method that involves no touch. Maybe the child was made to watch porn. Maybe the child was first spoken to in a sexually explicit manner. And then what has happened? The child is already feeling guilty. And then the abuser begins contact-based abuse. Then it's already, the scenario is complex. So we need to figure out a method to talk to children in a comprehensive manner. Are you all listening to me? But right now, I want you to please be very well convinced that we need to categorize child sexual abuse as contact form and non-contact form. Contact form means where there is touch. Non-contact form means it is child sexual abuse, but there is no touch. We need to communicate about this to children as well. Okay. Now, this is something I want you to please make note of. I know many of you have your pens and I'm seeing all of you making notes of it. Continue, because this is going to be a lot of information. I will take another 7 to 8 minutes. Would that be okay, Veena ma'am? You said half an hour and I seem to not stop. Yeah. Okay, another. This is how do we talk to children in a manner that they understand. Okay? And in a manner that they can remember and act. This is what we are calling as safety guide model. This is something that at Muktha Foundation we've come up with. And at the same time, we believe through our research that it is one of the most comprehensive model that there is in the world. Safety guide. It is an acronym. What do I mean by an acronym? SAFETYGUIDE, isn't it? Each letter Each letter stands for a particular idea. Each letter stands for a particular idea. And some of you attended our workshops 5 years ago, you did not learn this. This is something that we have come up the last 1.5 years. SAFETY, each letter stands for a clue. Now what we should tell a child is any of these clue, any of these clue, if a child is experiencing, they need to inform 3 trusted people, not 1. That model is gone. Tell 1 person. The child will tell the mother. Mother will tell, hey, keep quiet, it's not abuse. Then what will happen? We have seen so many cases like that. With all good intention, somebody is scared, an adult is scared. So we are telling at least speak to 3 people. So somebody at least will help the child. Look at this. S stands for, then there will be a revision. Okay, all of you should tell me. I'll ask S for, A for, you should remember and tell me. Okay. S for secret caution. Are you listening? S for secret caution. What does that mean? What it means is we are telling children, if at all, here is an adult who comes to you, whoever this adult is, a stranger or a known person, and tells, the fact that I met you, keep it as a secret. Are you listening to me? Keep it as a secret. Let's play a secret game. Let's, go to a secret place. The fact that I'm meeting you, it is a secret. Maybe it's still not child sexual abuse, but you see how the abuser is grooming the child? The abuser is grooming the child. So we are telling the child, any adult comes to you and keeps on telling secret, 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 please talk about it to 3 trusted adults. Don't think it's abuse, but why should an adult have these many secrets with a child? Tell me. If the adult is good-hearted, genuine, why will any adult have secrets with a child? So S therefore stands for secret caution. Secret is not tough word. Children will understand. Yeah. What we've seen is 7 years and above, children are remembering. We work with thousands of children all over country. Our sample includes everybody in Northeast. I see Boka here. Boka is from Dimapur, Nagaland. She connected us to so many schools there. So many of you who we've interacted with over years. So you see, we've traveled everywhere, and children usually 7 years and above will remember what I'm talking. S is secret caution. A is abusive touch caution. A stands for abusive touch. Don't tell touch caution. Then a child who's given shake hand also, now the child is getting scared that abuse is happening to me. Somebody tells, good, you did your test well, and the child is like, hey, touch, and then there is child sexual abuse. Now, you can ask me, touch is easy to understand for a child, but what about abusive touch? Isn't it? Abuse is a tough term for a child. Usually the way I introduce the topic is, I ask children, imagine all of you are 3rd standard kids, okay? And if I'm asking you, I have 207 3rd standard kids now. Imagine I ask you, I'm asking, children, do you all know what's the meaning of use? Tell me, if I say pen, what's the use of a pen? What all will you say? What's the use of a pen? To write, to draw, something you will say. That's the use of a pen. But if the same pen I take and put it in Aditya's eyes or put it on Smita's head, is that the use of a pen? Tell me, is that the use of the pen? Everyone tell me, no, please. That's not the use of a pen. Instead, what you're doing is you're abusing the pen. You're abusing somebody using the pen. Now children know, oh, use means good. Abuse means they are troubling someone. Are you all listening? And any child, even 1st standard kid will understand use means helping, using. Abuse means troubling someone. And then you say, using touch, can somebody trouble you? Oh, they can trouble me. How? If they touch my private parts, like that you introduce. Are you all listening to me? So A stands for abusive touch. I have had 1st standard kids telling, ma'am, my mummy told 4 private parts. Lips, chest portion. For a child, it's like, where you do toilet and then bum. But then if somebody touches my tummy, is it okay? No, ma'am. You see, a child is any day thinking more comprehensively than us as adults. So therefore, a child can understand intent. Child will understand intent. Adults have problem understanding intents because complexities of brain, isn't it? So talk to children not about touch, bad touch. Yeah? Instead, talk about abusive touch. Are you all okay? If S is what? Secret caution. A is abusive touch caution. F stands for fear caution. F stands for fear caution. What is fear caution? Somebody is creating fear in a child. Instances where teachers have been abusers, telling that, hey, if you don't allow me to abuse you, I'm going to fail you. You see, when a person is talking like that, it is still not child sexual abuse. Instead, it is grooming. We need to catch the abuser when there is an attempt of grooming, not after bad touch, because after bad touch, it's not prevention. The child is already traumatized. So fear caution means if you are telling a child, somebody is creating fear in you before abuse, or after abuse, they're saying, if you talk about abuse, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to harm your family. Please open up and talk. Yeah, that is fear caution. What's the next letter? Guys, E. All of you are showing me your teeth and saying E. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, E is the next letter. What's E? E stands for electronic device caution. E stands for electronic device caution. What does this mean? A child is told, if somebody is showing you something that you think is wrong, using any electronic, and you say electronic, they'll give you hundreds of examples, iPad, that, this, and all that, uh, any electronic device, somebody is showing you something inappropriate. You can tell a child without clothes or something like that. You need to talk to how many adults? 3 trusted adults. Are you listening? Or sometimes you need to also say, if somebody is videographing you using an electronic device, we should also be talking about that. So S is secret caution, A is abusive touch caution, F is fear caution, E is, what did I say? Electronic device caution. What's the next letter? T. Yeah, some people are saying T. Yeah, T stands for trap caution. Trap, trap caution. Children have watched enough Tom and Jerry. Don't worry, they know the word trap. Yeah, they know what trap means. Trap is of 2 kinds: emotional trap, physical trap. Emotional trap is, hey, that day I gave you money, no, today I'm going to touch you, you need to keep quiet. You see, doing a favor and then trapping a child. The other type of trap caution is physical trap. What is physical trap? Hugging a child, you know, pulling a child, locking the child up, trap caution. And I'm seeing the time is ticking. Let me hurry up. Trap caution. Y stands for, this is one where we've had the maximum debate in our foundation. But I feel it's absolutely essential. Y is, listen to this, your intuition caution. It's not that based on the intuition of a child, we are going to lodge a complaint. Instead, the child intuitively feels that somebody made trouble. Isn't it the right of a child to talk about it to adults? Haven't we all felt uncomfortable with some people? They did not abuse us, just the vibes gave us an intuitive feeling that, kuch, there's some problem there. This is not to make anybody become judgmental, but we've all felt. Even before the trouble came, there was an intuition that the trouble is coming our way. So let's talk to children about intuition. And you ask them, they will tell sixth sense, gut feeling, all of those. And these are all correct. And many psychologists would say children are more intuitive than most adults are because they're closer to nature, their inner nature. So intuition. When we have asked children, give us examples of intuition, I'll tell you the kind of things. I was in this school in Chandigarh. child. Even before I see my mummy, I know that she is angry and she's going to scold me. Ma'am, something is in the air, ma'am. You know, the kid telling something is in the air. I can feel that mom is angry. And that happens. Mom is yelling at me. You see, the child has clearly understood what intuition is. And let's not worry that children will misuse intuition and then complain about somebody randomly. You're not going to lodge complaint. Instead, let a child talk to 3 trusted adults. Are you all listening? Your intuition. So safety is done. Now what are we left with? Guide. 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 G stands for anyone, anybody? I know some of you have attended our session in the past. I'm tempted to check with you what is G. Let me not trouble you all. G stands for gift caution. You see this? G stands for gift caution. What is gift caution? People giving costly gifts. Yeah? And then trapping children. Why should a child accept gift unnecessarily? Somebody giving, I'm so glad that some of you are typing it on the chat mode, what I'm discussing. That serves as a good revision. Yeah? Okay, good. Gift caution is giving inappropriate gifts to the child. I know of a case where this child was given innerwear as a birthday gift, lingerie as a birthday gift. You see how inappropriate it is. Why is the abuser doing it? To check the reaction of the child. This child, smart kid, went and told the parent. But if this kid had not told, the abuser would have used that as the beginning point for further, the abuse. So gift caution. We need to say somebody is giving you gift in a secretive manner. Somebody is giving you gift in a secretive manner, inappropriate gift or unnecessary expensive gifts. Please inform 3 trusted adults. That's it. Okay. What's the next letter? U. U stands for undress caution. Are you listening to me? U stands for undress caution. We all know exhibitionism. What is exhibitionism? Somebody, an abuser, exhibits his or her own genitalia to a child. Isn't that child sexual abuse? But is there bad touch? No. You see? So exhibitionism is a complex term for a kid. So undress caution. Undress. Somebody is asking me on the chat mode, what does U stand for? Undress. Undress means somebody undresses in front of you or is asking you to undress in front of them. Undress caution. We need to inform 3 trusted adults. Okay? I stands for isolation caution. You see, isolation is a grooming technique. What is isolation? Isolation means separating. Remember the example that I discussed while talking about grooming? Alcoholic father, how the abuser traps the kid. Physically isolating the child or emotionally isolating the child. Asking a child, will you come and meet me behind the school? This is not child sexual abuse yet, but it is a grooming method, seeing how readily the child will come and meet. So you see, isolation. Let's talk to children about it. Yeah, I feel isolation is a bit tough word. Yeah, but then you explain to the kid, asking alone, separating. Yeah. D stands for, let me go quickly, another 5 minutes more. D stands for dirty talk. A child need not be afraid of somebody talking, but then there is something that is inappropriate. D stands for dirty talk. Sexually explicit manner, describing the body parts of a child. Talking over the cell phone. Tell me, talking over the cell phone, is there bad touch? No bad touch, no, but isn't this child sexual abuse? We need comprehensive model, please. Even forget safety guide, but these are the ideas you need to communicate to children. The last one is E. E stands for eyes caution, eyes. Eye. Give me examples of eye caution. Somebody looking at the child when the child is bathing. Looking. D stands for dirty talk, ma'am. Revati ma'am is asking. D stands for dirty talk. E stands for eye caution. Making a child watch pornography. Making a child look at the genitals of the abuser. Isn't this child sexual abuse? Legally, psychologically, it's so disturbing to a kid. So therefore, what I would strongly recommend is Please talk to children using safety guide. Yeah, let me just see if I can. No, I don't see the slide. Just a second. Let me just check if I can. Many of you are asking if a slide can be shown. Did I lose? Okay. Okay, let me. Just one slide, you please see this. This is the summary. Guys, are you all able to see me? You see this? This is the slide. Yeah, because it's subjected to copyrights. I just want you to cite Muktha Foundation, but otherwise don't tell us that you're using. Go ahead and use it. You just go ahead and use it. You talk to children about this using rhymes, using role plays, but don't scare them. After that, you ask children. S for, A for, they feel so confident. They feel so confident. All right. And then finally, please talk to children about the helpline number. What's the helpline number? 1098. Okay. I'll share something that happened during this campaign. I forget which school this was. At the end, I told children the child helpline number is 1098. Okay. Why did I say 1098? Because it's descending order and it's easy, you know, for children to remember. I mean, this is to say how innocent children are. What happened? I told children, what's the number? 1098. Everybody was like 1098, 1098, as if it's like a slogan. Good. Awesome. And then I asked, are there questions? This one kid, okay? So, I mean, I still remember, tiny and, you know, second or third standard kid. Mom, I have a question. Almost teary-eyed. I thought we had fun learning it, and here is a kid who was almost teary-eyed. And I'm like, what happened? You know, why are you? And the kid is like, Mom, the child helpline is 1098. And I'm like, yes, the child helpline number is 1098. And why are you crying? The child tells me, Ma'am, has seen my father's cell phone. We don't have 10 number. Did you all get what the child is thinking? To type 10, the child must type 1 and 0, right? You know? And here is a kid telling, I have seen my dad's cell phone. There is no 10. And all children are saying, okay, 1098. And here is this kid telling, no. You know? You see, therefore, such is the innocence of kid. Instead of telling 1098, what should we tell children? 1098. This kid at least talked about it. God knows how many children are not talking, but then are thinking, Array, my father's cell phone does not have 1098. My mom's cell phone does not have 1098. Are you all okay with this? Yeah, there's so much more, and I cannot begin to tell you how much of editing I have done. You know, those of you who attended our 2 days, 3 days, we have 145 hours module, you know. So imagine what would happen in that. Yeah. So therefore 1090, all this you talk. Now I'm really thinking it's exactly 6 o'clock. Veena ma'am, how do we go about? And I think we should wind it up.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was awesome presentation. I would say this is only a trailer what we have given.
Yeah,
we are waiting for the main picture. And I really request on behalf of Suresh Kumar sir and the American College Madurai that we want to have another session of yours soon.
We could do that.
One more.
So,
and yeah, we can elaborate. So meanwhile, if there are any questions, Suresh sir, ma'am, because there is no time to take questions, please, I would encourage participants to leave us a mail if you so that you need not stay with the doubts. So many of you are raising your hand, but I'm not sure.
Participants, kindly keep your mics on mute. Participants, kindly request everyone to please keep your mics on mute.
I'll do one thing. I will mute.
Yes.
Ma'am, I would like to, dear participant, I think today, I think what we have seen is a trailer. See, this is a program Madam conducted for 3 days, 5 days, and then more days Madam conducted the program. See the content which was presented. And it is the most sensitive topic. And many parents, even as a parent, I'm not aware about many of the components. as Madam said, I have to be very careful to nurture the better mental health. If they are very good in that physical health, in that external environment, definitely, excuse me, there's a call.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hello, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Dear participants, there are many programs conducted in Muktha Foundation, both face-to-face as well as online mode. You can get the detail from all the 6 WhatsApp groups we have created for the mental health webinar. The details will be shared with you. Please use that opportunity. It is a wonderful sessions. I personally enjoyed a lot. Personally have seen that efforts and that quality of the content. Please enroll yourself and get trained on those components. There is an input for that. There's an amazing, again, after 5 years, the same energy, the same input. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Veena, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Like Suresh sir said, Ashwini ma'am has been doing tremendous job and conducting so many wonderful workshops from Muktha Foundation, and we will be notifying you with all the details soon. And ma'am, we have a few questions from the participants. First question is from Sumitra ma'am. Sumitra ma'am, can you please go ahead with your question?
I think by default. You go to the next person. Next.
Yes, Abhi ma'am, Abhi Shankari ma'am, can you please?
Yes, ma'am. I can see.
Yeah. Ma'am, it was a great session. I'm also deal with children who face this. There's one thing which always comes up in these sessions. The relatives, friends, and even other people, they love the child so much, they also hug, kiss, and sometimes inappropriately they'll pat the backside and all. The child feels very traumatized because we teach them these things are not appropriate, right? The child starts hating her own uncle or brother who loves the child. So this is where the trauma comes. How do we explain this?
See now, think about it in the safety guide. Thanks for the question, ma'am. Think about the safety guide model. Even before we talked about abusive touch, SA, no ma'am, A was abusive touch, right? Before that, we talked about secret caution. Why? Because there are some relatives, they don't touch the child inappropriately in front of everyone. But maybe when others are not there, they're touching the child inappropriately. Now, therefore, a child must think, and the child do think, children do think. They say, here is this uncle who does not touch me like this when my mother is there. But when she is gone, he's touching. So therefore, before that's what I'm saying. Before teaching bad touch, we need to have talked to children about secret caution. Because relatives, when they are abusive, they are going to touch at home. But where in home when nobody is there? And now the child must think, this person is touching me, but then is touching me at home only. But then when everybody is not there, when nobody is there, that means there is a secret caution. Can I tell to mom about this? That's something. So therefore, we need to create a platform where the child is listened to, and only then the child is going to open up and talk. Yeah. So we cannot jump to conclusion. We cannot threaten the child and say, hey, tell me, is somebody abusing you? That's also is very scary for a child. Instead, let's say, Abhishankari ma'am, let's say you're a child. How should I tell a child? You need to say, see now, I taught you safety guide, right? Now you tell me, who are the 3 people you will talk to? We need to interact with the child and get those. And during Corona crisis time, I'm strongly encouraging, if at all you're conducting program, please encourage children to learn four numbers of relatives. 4 numbers of relatives that the children trust. I was shocked to learn that the first 11 days of the lockdown, this is there, you please go Google. The first 11 days after the lockdown, the child helpline says there was 91,000 calls. 91,000 calls. What are we even talking now? You see, 91,000 calls on child abuse cases and domestic violence. 11 days after. Now it's been more than 40 plus days. Imagine the scenario. Now or anytime, we need to encourage children to clearly know who are these 3 trusted people. Now, who are these 3 trusted people? Not people that the child likes. The child will like the other chuntu fellow next door, but that is not the trusted adult. A trusted adult is somebody that the child likes, the child believes will understand. Understanding is one thing, but the child must also believe the person is in a position to support. Likes, understand, believes the other person will understand, and at the same time will support the child. Sometimes children have told me, my mummy will understand me, but then she can't support ma'am. I will tell my, in Kannada we call it Dodama, Periyamma, no? Like mom's elder sister. She will support me. And do you know Periyamma's number? That will make a child practically feel convinced. Sometimes, I know there are questions, but I'm telling it because, I don't want to miss it. Sometimes I make children do role plays. What role plays? Imagine there is a telephone operator. I'm the telephone operator of 1098. What will you tell? The moment a child has uttered, the child feel confident that the next time this happens, that day I did a role play, no? So please come up with practical experiential exercises such as this. Abhishankari ma'am, you asked one question, then simply I built 3 answers on that because I wanted.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Abhi ma'am. Thank you, Ashwini ma'am. Next, we have a question from Subhash Chandra Bose, sir. Sir, can you please go ahead with your question?
Sorry. Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, the name has changed, okay, but I only just arrived the question. It was a wonderful session, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, I'm working as a school counselor.
Yes,
So, as a counselor, we talked about the victim side. I'm just thinking of the abuser side. So, what are the factors that are making the children or anybody to become an abuser, madam? So, how can we change them or that factor? That's right.
Ma'am, thanks for this question. This is what we call, everyone please listen to this. There are many approaches to deal with the problem. One is victim-focused approach. Victim-focused approach means who is the victim in child sexual abuse? Children. Conducting programs with children. That's the easiest, but that's not the most effective method, no? If there are thousands of abusers or potential abusers outside, and when they are not rehabilitated, when they are not punished, only telling children good touch, bad touch is not going to resolve. Now, ma'am's question is, why are some adults turning out to be abused? One of the most complex question, but then my hunch is this. Some of them are mentally sick, they are pedophilia. Pedophilia is a mental. Can I request you to mute yourself? Those of you, okay. One could be mental illnesses, but I'll also talk about other where revenge-based. Are you all listening? Revenge-based child sexual abuse. What does that mean? Here is a person who's angry about the child's father. Don't know how else to take revenge on the father, so is abusing the kid. Not a pedophilia, the person is not a pedophile, but then is still abusing the child in order to take revenge. How unfortunate. So you see, the other could be sometimes aggression, misplaced, displaced aggression could be other reason. The other one could also be children become easy target for, to satisfy sexual desire. So unfortunately, children sometimes become easy victims. So therefore, the reasons could be so many. Somebody else is saying, can it also be bullying? Now we use the word bullying when it's between 2 equals, ma'am. You see, and a 15-year-old bullying a 14-year-old. So age is almost same. That we call it sexual bullying. But we call it abuse, child sexual abuse, when there is an age differential. Yeah. So therefore, you see there are so many reasons: mental health, situational reasons. Sometimes opportunity is there, therefore they abuse. So therefore, I would strongly encourage, read upon, listen to this heading: sexual abusers, typology, and there is easily a lot of materials. Typology, you type, typology of child sexual abusers, so many different categories. Some want to build rapport with a child and then abuse. Some want to attack a kid. You see, so many different forms. Yeah. But perpetrators, we really need to be learning so that we also work with them. Yeah, so that their mental health concerns are also sorted and children are safe. Okay. Ma'am, Avina ma'am, we can't hear.
Yeah, I'm there, ma'am. Next question is, thank you so much for that. And next question is from Rupa, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes.
You are, ma'am. Yeah.
Well, my question is that if a 5-year-old child, as you know, somehow they are having a kind of habit touching their private parts themselves, right? And some children are very frequent about these type of habits, even they do in the public places also, right? And when they are playing with there is a child who is having a gap, like 15-year-old child is playing with a 5-year-old child, having there is no company in the condition. Particularly he's playing with an elder child, and that child also entertain, that 15-year-old child also entertain this kind of activity with him. Then what is the appropriate manner to teach a 5-year-old child to deal with and be alert about?
Yeah. So first, what I would say is, because you brought in the example of a 15-year-old also in the scene, first let's talk to the 15-year-old and say what you're doing is inappropriate. Because it's easy to reason out with a 15-year-old than to talk to a 5-year-old. Of course, we should be talking to a 5-year-old. But then you see, we need to remove one particular, what we call situation enabler. Here is a 15-year-old who's entertaining this 5-year-old, touching private parts on the ground, let's say. Let's talk to a 15-year-old and try and understand the motives of this person. And say this is a clear no, and then let's talk to the 5-year-old. I want you to please understand the exploration of genitals. It's part and parcel of the developmental, the stages that the child go through. However, when we talk to a child, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and say, look, you're playing, your hands are dirty, you touch the private parts, you can get infection. No, the child sometimes can understand. Or maybe you can talk to the child about private parts. You clean private parts. Mummy sometimes cleans you. You put water to private parts and clean. Why are you touching it unnecessarily? Or why are you touching it? Can I tell you not to touch? You see, here is the child, if at all there is no abuse, here is a child who may be in a position to understand. But in the event that a child is abused, maybe the child is touching the private parts because of the pain the child is going through. Are you all listening to me?
Yeah.
If at all a child is not abused, just talking to the child, maybe drawing, what we say, the outline of the body, or just showing a picture and saying these are the private parts. You cover it, wearing the innerwear. Why do you do that? Because that's a private part. We can explain to the child like this. The child may stop. But in the event that the child is abused, maybe the child is touching the private parts because of the pain. But maybe the child is touching the private parts because the abuser does that to the child. The child is now exploring it out of further curiosity. So therefore, before coming to a conclusion, we need to first explore the reasons. How do you do that? Maybe say that, I saw you the other day that you were touching, the don't tell private parts in whichever language that we are talking, we are going to say, I saw that you were touching where you do toilet. No, you were touching it. Why are you doing that? As somebody asked you to touch, something like that. You build rapport and then you talk. Maybe using a doll, you can teach a child these are the parts that you cannot be touching in public. These are the parts that you should not be touching unless you are cleaning it. Use a drawing, use a doll, use a cartoon. There are so many resources, and then engage the child in a dialogue, I would say, ma'am. But the moment the child is touching the private parts, let's not jump to a conclusion there is abuse.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's something that let's be calm.
A very short question, but sorry, I'm asking two questions. My question is that if a 5-year-old child, the age specific question, if he or she is not understanding, the unsocial factor of touching, the lady part, the breast, I must say, he is not getting this point. What is the odd thing, especially with the mother's one?
Yeah.
Then what is the appropriate language in please 2-3 lines?
So now ma'am is speaking about a child touching an adult inappropriately, So how do we? So usually what I would say is our interaction with a child on certain matters such as this, because we are teaching the child drawing boundaries, isn't it? Yeah. Look at this metaphor. Many of you who attended my workshops in the past might have heard this. Our interaction with a child must be, listen to me, iron fist in a velvet gloves. Iron fist, how is it? Strong, no? But what am I saying? Iron fist in a velvet gloves. Velvet gloves is soft and gentle. Imagine, I am the mother. I can say, imagine there is this child called Raju. Raju, another time you touch me, I'm going to hit you. Now, is this iron fist in a velvet gloves? No, only iron fist. I'm breaking the knuckles of the child's hand. The child is going to be scared. The child will then not relate to me. I'm not saying, another time you touch me like this, I'm going to hit you. Some will tell I'll hit you, some will hit only. This is not the way. And then there are those who are going to be too soft. Please, no, don't touch me like this. Hello, the child is further curiosity, right? Why is, pleading? Why should we plead a child? We are teaching the child boundaries. So instead, are you all listening to me? Let us not be the iron fist, rough and tough. Let us also not be the velvet gloves alone. The child only will hindify and throw. That should not happen. Instead, iron fist in a velvet gloves means we are firm. And at the same time, we are gentle. How do we do that? We can say, Raju, the other day, all hold my hand. Don't touch my, chest portion. Don't touch it. The other day I told you, you told me yes, but today you're once again touching me. Can I ask you not to repeat it? Tell me if you repeat it, what should I do? You see the way you're talking? You were not harsh. You were not like, please don't do this. Not like that. Because a child then will take it very playfully. Right. Yeah. Here we are teaching a child something. We are teaching a child a life skill, isn't it? The life skill of boundaries, So therefore, let's tell a child, the other day I told you not to do it and you did it. I'm angry. But I don't want to yell at you, but I want you to know I'm angry. In regional language, my Hindi is bad, but I'll give it a try. Maine bola tha na, kal aise mat karne ka. Okay, let me not give it a try. I think it's good. You be firm, but gentle. Then the child knows mom means what she's telling. And they will also role model you. They'll also role model you. Right. The next time somebody touches them inappropriately, they're not going to cry. They're not going to scream. Instead, they will tell, Uncle, I don't want you to touch me. Please don't touch me. Go. You see, this is assertiveness. We don't want to be submissive, aggressive. Let's be assertive. Right. Would that be okay?
Right. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do understand there are lots of queries that have been coming. I request all the participants to kindly send your queries to mywebinarfeedback@gmail.com so that we can get the answers from Ashwini ma'am, and also definitely we'll be having another session from ma'am so that we can have more and more interactive sessions and she will be answering all the queries. We don't have the heart to leave the session, but still it's just a beginning. That's it. It's just a beginning. So we are looking forward for more and more such sessions. And thank you so much for all your love and support. Keep supporting us like this. And thank you so much, Ashwini ma'am. I now call upon Ekta to give feedback and Krishnan sir to give vote of thanks. Ekta?
Are you able to hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, Ekta.
Yes, ma'am. It is said that, sometimes hearing and visually when you see it, we get to grasp a lot of things. Half the time the presentation was not there, ma'am, but it was like you were talking directly to us, and we were just one-to-one connection with all the 230 people who joined us today.
Thank you.
And it's a good news as from our team that we have crossed 230 people today, and we're very excited about it, that day by day our venture is actually trying out to be helping a lot of people as we speak.
That's great.
So thank you very, very much. And the feedback that we have got in our chat also has actually supported us a lot, ma'am. And I'm very, very happy to have attended the session. The safety guide is, I think, never going to go out of our head for a real long time to come. So thank you very much. And we are hoping to have a session from you very, very soon. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Ekta. Two inputs I will share here. And then we have the policy that if a resource person got more than 9, we will invite them for 3 more sessions. I think you class more than 9.5.
Okay.
So we request you for another 3 more sessions, ma'am. And another one is
That would really be good.
this is the next session we are having, so I will share you in the personal phone.
Please. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Congratulations to the team. Fantastic work. Thanks for.
Krishnan sir, please give vote of thanks. Thank you.
So, Ashwini, this was, I know we were actually expecting your session. And, I have been noticing, I used to get your notifications of your suicide prevention, awareness and suicide prevention. I want to put it in record that, what we get, in the sense the message spreads from Muktha Foundation programs is far more than, in number I'm saying, the propaganda is reaching much more than even the your Bangalore mainstream people. I can take the name also, it's okay, Nimans. They are also conducting, but it is, far outreach because, people know you, people, know your delivery, and, it spreads like wildfire. To take it today's context, it spreads like COVID. So it is wonderful. And I think you need to, as Suresh requested, and you may have to think about taking a suicide prevention and this domestic violence prevention. That these 2 things probably you can think of. And today's session, I remember when I was doing my parent counseling, and we were supposed to do sessions sessions to parents. So we chose parents from schools. We go to the schools, and we were giving the awareness of child abuse. So that had taken back about 15 years of my my studies, and you are doing a wonderful job, and we were really privileged to have you today, and we are looking for more sessions from you. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashwini ma'am, for accepting our invitation. Thanks a lot. And participants, kindly send your feedback and queries to mywebinarfeedback@gmail.com. Kindly support us, keep loving us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.